The question is, what is mindfulness?
I'll give you my favorite definition, and then I'll give you my nuanced definition. Mindfulness is non-judging awareness. That's my favorite. The other one I really like, which is a little bit more esoteric, is present moment awareness without the filter of greed, hatred, or delusion. And
Perfect.
when I contemplate that, woo!
Yeah.
That's
Why I didn't.
that's the nutshell response.
I like it. We can. I'm gonna leave the whole thing recording. I don't know if you mind, but
Yeah, sure.
I've been asking a lot of people this, and I've only been recording the segment where they answer the question, and then I realized like later on we have a lot of like fruitful conversation about it that I might want to actually include. So I'm just gonna leave the whole thing running.
That's a really good interview technique, actually, because it's usually after people stop performing, then they relax. Quite often, that's when the real stuff comes out.
That's why I didn't want to tell you what the name of the video was.
No, that's really good.
Yeah. But I mean, I thought I was just gonna get on camera. I was gonna make a video about what mindfulness is, and that's my first answer too. Initially my first answer was exactly the definition that you gave, like non-judging awareness. And then the more and more I did research on this topic, the more and more I did research on what mindfulness is, the more I realized that number one, I have no idea. We're not really. It's like we're trying to describe like a feeling state or like a state of being here. And the more I try to use words to hold down what it is, the more it slips out of my grasp.
Well, and personally, I hate the word mindfulness.
Yeah.
Because number one, there's no mind in mindfulness because it's awareness.
Uh-huh.
And there's no heart in mindfulness because it really is awakened heart, awakened mind. So it's such a horrible word.
Yeah, it's not. It's not only is it very not descriptive, it's also deceptive in what you describe, but also it describes. There's a lot of things that I feel like people have defined mindfulness that actually are mindfulness too, but we're just sort of like we don't have enough words in English to describe all of the things that have translated from the suttas. And so here's my sort of current definition of mindfulness is actually kind of a joke definition of mindfulness. So my current definition of and I haven't made this video yet, so it will probably change before the end of this video is made. But the current definition I have for mindfulness is a state of being that is a natural state that occurs, and it naturally occurs in the sense that it's not a difficult thing to attain, and it can be cultivated through practices like meditation or yoga or whatever, and that state of being varies greatly depending on who you ask.
That's good. The other shorter version of that is mindfulness is not what you think.
Right.
That's good.
But to add to like your second definition, like I have a description for that. Like I can define that state of being for me, like, depending on who you ask. If you ask me, that state of being is sort of like a two-parter. It's like it describes the state of being that you're in, that's that non-judging awareness, right? So non-judging awareness is meant to lead to insight and meant to lead to wisdom. And so the second part of the mindfulness is first you have the non-judging awareness that leads to wisdom, and then you have the use of the wisdom that you got from the mindfulness to feed back into the mindfulness that leads to essentially, so you have the non-judging part, and then you use your wisdom to actually judge this experience. You put like a wisdom filter on the awareness in order to judge it so you can see whether or not that experience is skillful or unskillful. And skillful obviously being leading away from suffering, and unskillful meaning leading towards suffering.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of my, like, it's very like, we need more words.
Yeah, well, like anything, it leads to something paradoxical,
Yeah,
because it's non-judging awareness, but then you evaluate
right.
as to how good non-judging awareness is, and then you judge it as worthy, and then you want it, and then you just screwed yourself.
uh, I gotta check out some of your regular uh, Dharma talks and stuff.
I've been talk a week
We'll talk a
for
week.
15 years. I keep waiting until I run out of stuff to say, but so far I can keep it up.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it won't happen. It's not gonna happen. It's
Well,
not
actually,
really. It's not really you that's saying it.
well, that's exactly it. And I made this rule for myself. Like they say in writing, the key to writing is never hold your best stuff back. So with my talks, it's like, all right, I'm not going to hold back a joke or a talk I'm going to do later. I'm just going to, like, every talk is everything I got.
Yep.
And it's a little bit of a risk, like, so if I blow out the tubes, will there be anything for the next talk? And so far it's actually, the vacuum sucks something else in for the next one. So it's good.
Janessa had this exact same sort of. She was telling me about this. I would say fear that you're describing, and I've had the same thing. And essentially, it's like there's always something more, because it doesn't really come from you, right? It's just like you're sort of just the medium in which whatever it is, it's coming through. It's coming through. So
If anything, I'm the one who's like closing down the pipeline.
right, yeah, exactly. All right, man.